Hey folks, we're going to fire up here in a second. We're going to continue working on the Eberron cemetery map today. Just give me a second here to check my signal, make sure I'm coming through okay. Just give me a second here to check my signal, make sure I'm coming. Yeah, that sounds pretty clear. All right, cool. Derp burp derp burp. Hold on, I need to post on Twitter real quick that I'm live on Twitter. And then we're going to get this thing up and running. So give me a hot second here. Hey, my name's Phil. I create PDF supplements for 5e games that are published on the DMsGuild. There's a link down below that will take you to a stack of books that I've previously created. You can click on any of those books, and if you look at the eye icon on mobile, or if you click the full preview link underneath the image of the book cover on the product page, it'll open up a PDF, a sample PDF. You can read the entire thing cover to cover. Check out the artwork, the design work in there. That's what we're doing. We're building products. We're doing the layouts. We're illustrating them, and then we're publishing them, and then we're using them and my own campaigns and talking about them. So, yeah, check it out. See what the kind of work I'm up to. If it's stuff that you think is cool, help me out with making a purchase to help fund the time and energy that I invest in creating this stuff. It's greatly appreciated. And let me know what you're using it for, how you're putting it into your campaigns, what's going on. So I'm going to just post on Discords here real quick, just that I'm live, and then we're going to get into this for maybe like an hour and a half-ish, I think is the time I have available today. So we've been working on the book cover that's here on screen. It was like in the Eberron stream that today's episode will be added to. This is episode 91, but the full live stream production of all of this, like around episode 40, is when we were working on this book cover specifically. So you can check that out if you're interested in looking at the backlog of work that we've produced so far. And I'm going to switch that down, and yeah, on the DMsGuild, or like yeah, on the DMsGuild, on the new releases, it'll be about that. It would appear to be about that size on screen, and we specifically built it so that it would have that different looking imagery as you scale in and out to see stuff. So hopefully it's compelling enough for people to want to click into it and take a look at it. This adventure will also be 100% preview. But all the assets and stuff, like all the maps that we're building, all the tokens that go along with it, all that stuff is going to be in a zip file that you get when you download the adventure. So you can thumb through it, certainly. You can use it. We're eventually going to use it as a reference document like we were talking about last night, for just adventure design, to use it as as a sample thing. Go to page 65 and look at this combat scenario. We could have instead reword that and rebuild that to be a social encounter by doing X, Y, and Z, and stuff like that, like an adventure toolkit sort of thing. But today we're going to continue working on the water. We're going to come over here. Last night I was starting to obsess a little bit over cleaning up this area, so we're just going to dive right back into that. And oh yeah, I need a timer. It's 6:22 now, so that means I've got roughly an hour and 40 minutes of play today, so we're going to make it... I don't want to change up. I was thinking maybe I should make 30-minute blocks, but the last thing I want to do is screw with my chronometer. So I'm going to keep it at 20 minutes. Have a sip of coffee. I do this every day, except for Sundays. It's my day of rest. So, Monday through Saturday, I stream in the mornings. Monday and Thursday evening, I also stream. And then, of course, I've got a lot of writing and production time off screen. This is just my share time with you. So if you're interested in creating PDFs, or if you want to see just how much work goes into creating these third-party products, stick around. Check out some of my other streams. This is a dedicated adventure in the Eberron setting, which publishes only on the DMsGuild. And so we didn't write this adventure on stream, but we've been building all of the map, illustrations, and token assets. And once Stuart Braz finishes the edits, we'll take the edits and we'll drop them into a Word program, and we'll start doing layouts in Word, a cheap program that almost that's pretty easy for people to get, that doesn't require a subscription. So that's just a word processing program that you can use that I use to create all my D&D products. So you can it's an easy, gentle way for folks that don't want to invest in like InDesign or Affinity or something like that, that maybe already has the Microsoft Suite built into their PC, or has easy access to it. So you'll see the process that I go through to build the PDFs. Once we get text back from an editor, we drop it into layouts. Now we do all the texting, the layout stuff, the graphic design work to make the words fit on the page. And then we build all the charts, and then in illustrations we drop a page into Photoshop, and we build the page dressing, like the word I'm looking for is the filigree, like the page margin art and filigree stuff for framing the text on the page itself, and then we also see how the text sits on each page for us to create pockets of white space that we then import into Photoshop here, and that we build illustration. We put spot illustrations into those blank spots with whatever is relevant to the content on the page. So you can see that process in my playlist, the Elemental Key playlist that I have. I did a number of the Elemental Key illustrations here on stream as well, so you can check out that to look at all the like quarter page and like 8th page and 16th page spots that I did, as well as the book covers to that stuff as well. So it's a full creation process. If you're interested in this long form work, or if you're an artist yourself, or if you're interested in the content, Eberron or whatever, please do like and subscribe, because YouTube's algorithm doesn't really understand what I'm trying to do. It's like, why aren't you trying to make a shitload of content that gets a ton of views right away? It's like, because this is these are proofs of concept. Like, it's an educational thing, like just helping people walk through the process. If like you ever wanted to build a PDF or a game yourself, this is a way for you to be able to look at the process and the effort that goes into it. Adventures are interesting because they require a lot of visual assets for you to be able to make it work. I mean, you could always theater of mind, of course, but even if you theater of the mind, the DM has to have a map for reference from which to take cues on what may be happening in the theater of mind, if you're not actually using minis on the map itself, like a tabletop or on a virtual tabletop like Roll20. Most people will, so it's actually super critical that I provide these assets, so we invest the time in creating them. Plus it's just fun making art. It's something that the muses will make me do anyway. I don't really have a choice in the matter. Artists rarely have a choice in the matter. We sleep when we get to sleep, and we work when we're told to work. It's that part of, I don't know. I like the, I guess you could say you're kind of in service to these muses that inspire you to produce these works that in their mind they're already there, but it has to grind through the second by second. We have to push our way through plank lengths to be able to produce anything or see anything in physical reality, and it's excruciatingly slow compared to the speed of inspiration that the muses provide. So us artists, we're constantly playing catch up, trying to figure out how can I move faster to keep up with the speed of inspiration. And it's impossible. It's the curse of life to be ground down to such a slow rate. But that's what the angels love. They love the deliciousness of seeing something manifest through effort and toil and emotion and intensity, and it's intense. I don't know if you're an artist or not, and it doesn't even matter what kind of artist it is. It's all the same. There's this feeling of I have to produce this thing, and the longer you practice your craft, the less work you put into it, and the more of a passenger you become, so that you get to witness the creation of the art. Just like anyone that's here in stream with me today. Hey guys, like and subscribe, help me out. At a certain point, I actually stopped producing this stuff, and I become an audience member as well, as the muse takes the helm and starts guiding the body through the motions to produce the thing. I get to witness their creation with you in real time, because I don't necessarily know where. Like, I have a vision of what the piece is, but I think some artists have the ability to see the final image, like literally see the final image in their head, and then they're just chiseling it out of the rock or dropping it onto the canvas just like they can see it. And they know it's done because it lines up with the image that they're overlaying. I don't have that gift. What I have is the ability to turn off my brain and autonomically produce, which is the muse taking the helm and guiding the work. Which is, I don't know if those people that can visualize have that same existential experience, but it's fun to be able to not be in control of the body as it performs, you know. Like that flow state that you hear about. It's really common in sports, but athletes are really just highly specialized artists that move through time space and the art they're playing is sport. That's their performance, and the people at the top of their game are amazing. They perform ridiculous feats. And in the same sense, artists that work with crafting instead of athletics, they're performing those works as well, but with different types of tools and different engagement. So obviously, I'm in ramble mode today. I'm down with that. But yeah, we've got this Eberron stream. We also. If you check out my most recent videos, you'll see there's a separate playlist for the Spelljammer supplement that we've been building for the past August, September, October, November, December, January. We're now entering our 6th month of production in the Spelljammer supplement. And then we have on Mondays, we have the Martial Power Monday lunch stream, which will continue this Monday as well, where we're creating alternate martial magic systems for martial characters, not full casters, to use a mana battery to perform miraculous feats that aren't spells. Almost like psionics, but it's just an on-demand mana spin to be able to ramp up different physical feats that martial characters can perform, like making ability checks and then spending mana while you're making the die roll to give yourself bonuses to the die roll, or when you make an attack and you hit and you spend mana to increase the amount of damage that you do with the hit, or you force a saving throw to impose a condition, or make a reaction, like make an opportunity attack, and then spend mana to increase to increase the results or the effects of whatever that reaction is. But that's on our martial powers Monday stream. That is slow cooking. We started off with I imported some basic ideas, and we've been fleshing those out over the past 40 weeks. And that book will probably be I'll be able to drop that to our editor once when I finish these books. I'll be the Martial Powers book will be done, and the first draft will be done, and we'll be able to then just hand it off to our editor and start working on the book cover with the Spelljammer book and this Eberron adventure off of our plate and published. That opens up a lot of workbench space for us to then continue with the Army Guilds and Kingdoms in Command book, In Command of Army Guilds and Kingdoms. We can continue that. And we'll be able to start cover art for the Martial Powers book. And then once that comes back from editor, then we'll go back into the same flow that you're going to see here with the Eberron adventure and the Spelljammer adventure. We just keep producing. I've got a million years worth of book ideas, and I only have maybe 50 years left to do them. So I am painfully aware of my mortality, and God willing, it's going to be a while away before I cash in my chips. But I want to produce as much content as I can while I'm alive, and so. So stick around, like and subscribe, check out some of the streams. It's just going to be a growing collection. I'll eventually move out of the DMsGuild and move into doing Kickstarters. And when I do, we'll be able to launch the Kickstarter project and do the entire production stream of whatever that project is here on stream, just like we're doing now. But instead, there would be hopefully a lot of backers that would be able to buy into a tier where they have special channel privileges to be able to shout out and interact and have fun with me. Hopefully, that's the dream. So right now, I'm happy with the shape of this puddle in general. So except I don't like that. I want to do that. So I like the general shape of like all these, like this puddle and this puddle and this puddle and this puddle. I like what it is. I want to get it to this point where it has that smooth finish, that type of gradient, that glossiness to it. I see a little flaw here that I can fix. But basically, once I get all these all these puddles to that same, like this is also pretty damn good. But I can literally futz with these things for like eternity. At a certain point, there's no real improvement or like substantial gain for the time invested. So I got to be done with that one. Same thing here. This thing is looking pretty damn good. So there's not much value in me spending another 10 hours on it. Though I can obviously smooth out that gradient a little bit more. But I can always smooth out a gradient a little bit more. So that's a lie and it's a trap. Like you can just stay there forever. So, but like most of this is done. So we're just being real nitpicky. I like this one in particular. If I don't know how to make everything have this cool. I'm still figuring out how to do this cool airbrushy sort of effect. It's just a style of art that I haven't ever really deep dived into and perfected. So this was a really fun opportunity for me to get a little bit more intimate with handcrafting gradients and how they, it's a different type of artwork. This has been thoroughly enjoyable to produce. So, but yeah, right now it's I'm at that stage where I'm happy with the topography. Well, no, that's not the right word, but the general layout of this puddle, sinkhole, pit. It's raining in the area. Like the entire adventure, it's raining. So there's constantly water being dumped into the environment, and this is a giant hole in the ground. So it's filling up with water, and this is all the black that's coming off of these crystals is mixing in with the water that's streaming in from runoff into these puddles, because water goes downhill. So all these graves that used to have skeletons in them they've risen from their grave, and now their graves are filling with puddles of water. And this is a large mass where obviously it's in the middle of a graveyard, so it's just a swirling pit of water, goop and death that is basically a monster generator until the team goes into them and cleans it out. Otherwise, the DM has basically unlimited undead that he can throw at the team, from quote unquote off screen until they close distance with this place. And but all the undead are just a distraction. The actual goal of the cemetery, if the cemetery is being used as a one shot, you can hide different artifacts or whatever your MacGuffins are around at different gazebos and inside the crypt and these shrines or in these statues or even in the muck. We could use this map independently as a set piece for a one shot, where characters are running around trying to assemble a magic item that will shut down all the undead in the graveyard, or maybe you're trying to find somebody that's hiding in the graveyard that's terrified of all the undead that you have to rescue. Or there's a number of different one-shot side quest scenarios we could use with the cemetery once it's completed. We could take the cemetery as a standalone piece and make a 3-page document about, have your team spend 3 hours of just standalone game time running around inside the cemetery doing MacGuffin stuff. But if it's part of the larger adventure, Crystals of Mabar as a whole, it's a means to on this map there are 2 entrances that lead to the underground dungeon where your team is trying to get to. So the DM can depending on the taste and flavor that the table, if you have a high combat table, then you can set up complex challenges of various monsters that are attacking the team while they're traversing the area. But if they're more Scooby-Doo investigation and interview style of play, then you can instead pull back on the amount of undead that are attacking and add in the puzzles and the tricks that we describe in the adventure. And if it's social, if your characters don't want to fight at all, they probably shouldn't be in this graveyard. They should probably go to one of the other optional entrances, like the Topside Fortress or the Flooded Ruins. Those both offer social encounter options. Like by default, it has social encounters built into it. But even this map, there's roaming mercenaries that are patrolling the area under the in the employment of the villain of the adventure, and so they can be engaged with in social activity, and you can even recruit them to help you fight undead if you wanted to, or offload fighting undead onto them while your team disengages from combat and continues on with the exploration. So it's a lot of fun to be able to pace through since each map and each challenge environment allows for those different pillars of adventure. It's kind of cool to see what do people actually want to do. Hey, man. It's good to see you. Glad to have you, Hernetica. But yeah, I would say the cemetery is by far the most combat-oriented option of the manifest zone encounter challenge regions. So, and then of course, once you get down into the dungeon itself, it has all three options available too. You could theoretically, depending on your tables like your social agreement as a table and what the DM is intuiting about what needs to be served up. This entire adventure can be ran in one pillar. You can run this entire adventure as nothing but combat. You can run the entire adventure as nothing but social interaction or as exploration. It's kind of boring to do that. You want to mix it up just to keep players on their toes. And honestly, combat has the most obvious, immediate ramifications and punishes players for mistakes the most. So having combat in your adventure is good because you can use combat or damage. Like traps is an exploration thing, and combat obviously is combat, but both of those can be used to punish characters that make mistakes or reveal their location or botch a social encounter. These things can all lead into combat as a means to have fun. Like your fail state is combat, but if your team likes combat, they don't mind failing. Like if I succeed in this exploration challenge, I'm going to get to a location easily. But if I fail that challenge, then I'm going to draw the attention of things I now have to fight. But if your team is itching for a fight, then that failure, it's not really a penalty. You're still failing forward. It just changes the challenge, which is what's going to be great about this toolkit. Once this is done and we get back into building the toolkit with Stuart, we can talk about those things, and we can use this different page references in this adventure to talk about that sequencing and moving fail states forward, and because failing forward is becoming a more and more popular term in the TTRPG zeitgeist about if we're going to have this railroad, if we have these rails that characters go down to get from the beginning of the adventure to the end of the adventure, there has the idea of it being a sandbox is neat, but those sandboxes are designed to build rails, sand rails, as it were, for you to be able to speed around inside of that box, to be able to, to get to destinations that you want and achieve goals that you need. There has to be a logical path from A to B for that effort to be like to create a result, and that result is B. And what and where you're at right now is A. So to get from A to B, you have to go down a rail. They can exist in the sandbox, but there's going to be logical paths that connect those two things through the sand that you can sand rail through. And that's what we want, and that's kind of the process that we want to talk about, like how to link those challenges together, and how the narrative process leads you from one to the next. And that's, I know that like Lazy DM is a great book, and there's been a lot of content put out in the past about this stuff, but I just think I think it adds to I think it's a worthwhile addition to the conversation, and then it's themed around Eberron, so it's just using Eberron content, which is very, very popular. So it's kind of a win-win. We provide more Eberron content and help people think about how can they build adventures from and using Eberron as the source document or the source campaign world to build those adventures inside of. And we could always neuter the language or neutralize the language and then republish it somewhere else. But the whole thing will be 100% preview anyway. So once it's out there, you can always just go in and buy it. I won't make as much money on the DM's Guild, but again, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. I've got nearly infinite ideas, and I can the things that are related to Wizard of the Coast IPs should arguably be on the DM's Guild, and I'm okay with that. So just woke up. My post 7:30 pre 9:45 nap. Fair enough, my man. Fair enough. My Sunday mornings are just well, my whole Sunday, like until about 3 p.m. on Sunday, it's a series of naps and like noshing on snack food and brunching and Netflixing with the gal. And Sunday fun day, man. It's lazy Sundays are real for Phil, which is why I don't stream. It is like my ultra lazy Sundays. Time for me to recharge and be with my love and sally forth, recharge myself emotionally for the rest of the week. Gotta build in the downtime. Gotta build in the family time. If you build in the family time, you can silo your attention into different tasks. Like when I'm on stream, all I'm doing is stream. But I have hard limits on when I come and go from stream. So when I'm off stream, I'm in family. So you can bounce back and forth in those different modes of life. Switching gears between, day job, book production, and family value. Oh, I apparently set my timer to 98 minutes, 98 hours, and 59 minutes. So apparently I did myself wrong. I'm going to delete that. Nope. Yep. 90. Oh, I see. I had it 99 and 20. So that sucks. It was at 8 minutes. 6:50 now. Hey, I've got an hour. That ended up working out. So I restarted my 20-minute block. It was down to 8 minutes. So close enough. Happy accident. Good coffee this morning. I've got this brown maple coffee from the brand is Happy Camper. It's great. And Moose Munch Caramel is one of my favorite coffees as well. I was off coffee for about a week after returning from my father's funeral, and I don't know. I just kind of picked it up again. I'd rather if I'm going to use consumption, like food consumption, as like an emotional reward, I would think that coffee, like just black coffee. I just drink my coffee black. But black coffee is like a much better emotional reward than, say, a cupcake. We can civil war about that down in the comment section, and certainly be welcome to drop a comment what your favorite emotional food is. Mine is predominantly coffee, but I also have a deep passion for hot and sour soup, pizza, sushi, and cheesecake. I used to make cheesecakes for a living. I worked at an Italian restaurant, and I was their morning prep cook. So I made the sauce. I made all the desserts. I prepped all the like if chicken salad was on the menu, I'd make 5 pounds of chicken salad that day, or whatever was on the menu. We had a rotating menu of specials, and we had we would go through, we were pretty much guaranteed to go through 5 bread puddings as a dessert a day. So every other day I'd have to make 10 bread puddings. Like like the restaurant was open long enough that it knew its ratios. So it was pretty good about pacing that stuff out. So I resolved all the truck supplies that came in. I was the guy that the place was great. God, I was in my 20s during this, and it was amazing because we had three different. We had a produce truck, we had a meat truck, and then we had a dry sundries truck. And so between those, between those three trucks, there's three different types of shipments that would come in. Basically, one, sometimes two a day. So on top of the cook prep work that I would do, I also managed the inventory. So I'd go through and like when the truck unloaded, I had to run up these stairs that were like at this angle. It was about 15 feet worth of stairs that I would have to lug like 30-pound bag of potatoes on my back, running up and down these like ladder steps. So, and that would be about maybe anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes worth of inventory a day. So I'd go into work, I'd start making some sauce, I'd start laying out my workflow for the day, and then the trucks would arrive, and then I'd do 30 minutes worth of calisthenics, and then I would go back into prep production. It was anywhere from 6 to 10 hours a day, depending on what was needed. And so a kid, a 20 to 23-year-old kid doing that kind of work, it kept me healthy. It kept me at the time I loved working in the food industry. This was in Missouri. Everybody in Missouri that worked in the kitchen looks just like me. We're all long hair metalheads, and so we'd be listening to Metallica, like old Metallica and Tool and Sepultura, Pantera. That's what our kitchen was like. And in the morning before the restaurant opened, we could just blast the radio, just listen, just get metal. And then we'd open for the lunch rush, and we'd have to turn down the music. We'd switch to classic rock in the kitchen. But God, that was an amazing time in my life. I just loved that. The whole kitchen culture was just awesome. And then I moved to Arizona, and I slowly got out of the kitchen industry. I stayed in kitchens there for a while, but by the time I was in my 30s, it was a little rough. I wasn't doing inventory anymore, so my body wasn't being exercised at the new job as much. I was doing line work instead of prepping. So it was more stand in one place and do a thing. And then as I kept aging, that evolved into I want a sit down job because I'm exhausted all day. So I got a sit down office job doing sales. And then sales has pretty much been my career ever since then. But I went to culinary school for a while, and that got I loved it. And again, good culture. But to be able to actually get anywhere, like to get good paying jobs in the food industry, it requires titles and politics and knowing people and handshakes. And the further up in the further you got elevated in that, the less and less you're a metalhead. And obviously I still have long hair, so the cooking industry doesn't really jive with that lifestyle. They can't say you have to cut your hair, but they don't respect snot-nosed kids like me that come into the restaurant industry with long hair. They're like, you're gonna be a short order cook and prep cook in small restaurants pretty much for the rest of your life, if that's the lifestyle that you want. And that's the lifestyle I wanted. Like the ultra professionals all had shaved heads. It's like, I don't want hair ever getting in my food. So they'd shave their heads, It's like, that's, maybe if I go bald, I'll do that. But then at that point, I'll decide, I wouldn't be in the industry anymore. So who cares? So, but luckily I got to keep my hair. And then, you know, during all that time, I still had my sketchbook and never did anything professionally as an artist until honestly until the Open Gaming license with third edition SRD. That's what made me a semi-professional side hustle artist, because all these brand new independent publishing companies started to get a budget large enough to afford artwork for the books that they're creating. Some of them went on. I had a number of books that were on bookshelves, like in actual, you know, retail stores, and but a lot of them were as PDFs became more and more popular. I started doing more and more PDF work. So initially it was all black and white artwork because the cost of production. We didn't have the same print on demand pipeline that we have now. It was all I'm going to print, you know, 5,000 books, and I'm going to see if we can get them distributed to your friendly local gaming store. And a lot of the books that some of the books that I was working in ended up on those shelves. So that was a big feather in my cap to be part of that process. But all those books were black and white. So me being able to work in gray tone as a colorblind artist didn't matter at all, because it was all line art and grayscale stuff anyway. So my work was, you know, smoothly integrated with all that stuff. But as the industry moved more and more into PDFs for low cost production, that also made color preferable, because it was all digital. So why not use color art? Well, why not? It's because it has a higher production value. But also during this time, artwork got globalized as the internet became more and more accessible with high speed in the early 2000s. That opened up markets like Indonesia and Malaysia and in South America to be able to enter the workforce for being able to produce art. And that's when artists saw a massive drop in cost per piece because they were competing with cultures that had 1/10 or 1/3 of the cost of living. So like I could, you know, if I were doing this is a 5 foot by 5 foot map, and if Wizards of the Coast had commissioned it, they would have paid about $6,000 to have it, anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 probably. And but somebody in Malaysia would be able to take that same work, like a $6,000 price tag for somebody in Malaysia. That's like 4 months worth of income. Like doing this, like having just a hack computer and be able to throw this together in Malaysia, huge cash, big value. So they could continue getting more work by, instead of, you know, scoring a $6,000 gig and living off of it for 4 months, they could do the same art for $1,500 and produce it in a month, and that's their monthly income this month. They could easily stack up a bunch of independent publishers and be able to make be able to feed their family on doing TTRPG art. So me here in America, there's no way I can really compete against that. So I had to keep my day job. I didn't want to move out of country to Indonesia or Malaysia. It's just a culture shift I didn't want to make. So that means that I have to find a different type of career, but it's totally viable to be able to, like it used to be like going to Singapore and being an artist in Singapore, like in like 2008, 2009 was a viable strategy. But their cost of living has risen considerably, so it's less economical now. I think they're like at 2/3 of our standard of our cost of living now. So like the globalization is slowly eroding these other nations' ability to do the same sort of work that I coveted to do. That they're losing their industry as well. So it's an interesting change. And now, of course, with AI, it'll be interesting to see how the copyright lawsuits play out. But during that transition, that's when I realized I'm never, if I want to live in America, I'm never going to be able to be a full-time artist. So I was at that point I working for TTRPGs. So that's when I transitioned into doing character art and doing character art commissions off of like Reddit requests or Facebook posts and stuff. I would trowel the forums. Here's the work that I produce, and like I'll produce a like a page of character art for $400, or like a single character for $200 or whatever. And that was quickly getting priced out as well, because the other lifestyle cultures were moving into character art as well. And so I was now competing, but I was still getting enough requests that I could basically make $10 an hour in producing character art, which was no longer a living wage, so it was still a side hustle. And I could have potentially increased my workflow, like if I quit my day job and started diving into, like, this is when Patreon and PayPal and all that stuff started locking down inside of the global industry. So I could have started down that path, but by that point I'd done enough character art that it's like, I hate all these character requests. It's like, the reason you are paying me $200 to make this character is because nobody else wants to make this stupid character. You're having to pay me a lot of money because nobody else wants to do it. And I'm like, I don't like, the quality of these clients were becoming lower and lower with worse and worse demands. And it's like, I don't want to stay on this. I'm out. And by the time I came to that realization, that's about the time that Ravnica got published by Wizards of the Coast, and I found out about the DMsGuild. It's like, you can do Ravnica stuff if you publish it on, you can publish it on the DMsGuild and people will see it. There'll be a natural market there for you. And I'm like, well, that's when I decided to become a game designer. It's like, well, if I can't get paid the amount that I want by third-party content producers, maybe if I become a third-party content producer, I can fold the cost of art production into the cost of the PDF overall if I continue to do the artwork. So that was the strategy, and that's, 3 years later, that's where I'm still at. So I'm now pretty hooked on building books. I've got a lot of books I want to do. I see ways to offer alternate ways to approach the adventures that Wizards had published previously, which is where, and I love Eberron. I've been playing it since 3rd edition, year 2000, like 2003, I think, is when I started exploring Eberron. And it's been my default campaign setting ever since. So I mean, obviously, I take it in a very different direction, as all DMs do, but it's been my base campaign template for 20 years now. And yeah, geez, 20 years. I've been playing Eberron for 20 years. So that's a quick history of Phil in 17 minutes. So now I can build a supplement. I can create artwork for the supplement. I can then take all the art that I create for the supplements, and if I really wanted to make a business out of this, sell them all as stock art. And then now that I'm making maps successfully, I'm proud of myself for that. I can use those maps to create additional content, recycling use of those maps into different scenarios and different adventure ideas. So I've got a lot of paths that I can take assets and build business out of it. And I ultimately want to start creating kind of like a studio environment where I can bring in other designers, writers, artists, layout artists, editors, and build a game shop. but I'll need a substantially larger following for me to be able to do that, because if I'm going to hire and bring people in, I need to have like a solid Patreon that's going to generate money for me every month, so I can pay those artists and those writers to create content. Kind of like Arcadia or like a DM's Lair. DM's Lair is a really good example where I can transition out of doing the grind of producing stuff. Like I can still be a design consultant. Like, here's the direction I want to go with a book, and have my team build it. But I can then focus my stream time to talk about stuff and like build book covers or whatever asset it is that I'm going to, chip my labor into, because I want to stream and do artwork on stream while I just talk about this kind of crap. Because I love like DM's Lair. I love how, he's got like 50,000 some odd followers, and they're constantly, streaming and talking shop and asking questions, and he'll go on a diatribe for 5 minutes about, whatever that topic is. And, I do that here, except that, I'm painting while I do it. So once I build up a large enough crowd, 1,000 plus people that follow me, hopefully there'll be enough chatter and run around on the stream that's the kind of environment that we can build, that I can just paint and talk shop and, talk about DM stuff. And I haven't really held myself out as a DM, a DM's advice channel. That hasn't been the focus at all. But I can move in that direction once I have enough audience hanging out with me. That's where like when the conversations evolve into that. That'll be a real natural place to take the channel. And I think once I build the Eberron Adventure Toolkit, that will build a solid document of reference, kind of like Mike Shea has the Lazy DM. That's kind of like a default book that his crowd falls back to as a, hey, talk to me about, building. About your like, let's have a conversation about your team running a guild, and like once the Guilds and Kingdoms book publishes, then that becomes a frame of reference for like my mentality around building, managing resources as NPC downtime mechanics. That becomes a conversation piece that you can have. So hopefully, as I flesh out the different products that I want to produce, it'll help spur additional conversation and more stream content for us to just talk about TTRPGs. And as I expand out of 5e into other stuff, hopefully I can carry that material, that experience into the new content, wherever it is that I end up going, whether it's going to be Phil D20 or Morkborg or OSR or Powered by the Apocalypse or World of Darkness or whatever. The concepts of narrating and good GMing, of course, don't change. There's tons of system neutral channels that offer advice like that, but me specifically, I've been inside the OSR 5e game space for 30 years, so I think my perspective is pretty focused into that style of play. Though I certainly I love me some Rifts. Palladium games they're very second edition in feeling. They have that same clunkiness, fiddly mechanics bit and complexity that like you can expect from second edition D&D. It's less elegant. At least I don't think the Palladium system's been has really evolved a lot since the 80s and 90s, but its library is ridiculously large. I've played Robotech, I've played Rifts, I've played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and all of those game systems, all those different RPGs use the same Palladium engine, so they all fold together and work together. It's just there's different tiers of, like, very different tiers of power inside of Palladium. Like they all use the same engine, but the mechanics for creatures, vehicles, classes, they all scale differently. they're somewhat balanced to themselves inside of their own space. But once you start rifting out into like having TMNT bleed into, say, Robotech, they don't scale the same at all. So it becomes a real gonzo game campaign where, you know, you play what you want to play, and somebody could be like an OP power gamer while another person is playing, you know, like a dating sim high school love interest characters. Like, there is a massive disparage in power here, and but as long as the DM is comfortable with those different scales of power, Palladium remains ridiculously fun. It is for as mechanically heavy as it is steeped deeply into the shenanigan tier of play. Like Rifts begets silliness, and it's a real fun beer and pretzel. It's too clunky to be a proper beer and pretzels game, but its mentality is very much beers and pretzels. I gotta move this over so I can see that properly. There. Dating high school protag is why my Quester class project has a visual novel themed subclass. Oh, that's fantastic, man! What a great way. Tyler had a Tyler was building like a story. It was a story bard, I think. Different class features themed around different types of like plot beats and narrative points. Like all the class features of the bard was themed around like character tropes, like story tropes. I can't describe it. It's been a while since I've seen it, but you should connect with Never Not DM, who's Tyla, who shows up here and stream with us occasionally. You've played with him before in play tests. But yeah, he's got interesting ideas about character mechanics curving into the narrative story design. It's interesting. I think you two might have a lot of fun with that. A moment of silence for the conversation. This is looking pretty damn good, man. I'm just, you know, smoothing it out, making, getting it to a point where it feels natural. Once we finish that curve, then we'll go to our rooftops. So there's a real decent chance that I'm going to have all this water done this weekend, and then on Monday we'll do rooftops, and then we'll be done with the map. So we can go back in. I think on Thursday. I think it's very realistic that this Thursday we're going to be underground in the third act dungeon of the underground laboratory. And we'll start in the flooded in the flooded chambers, so that we can use all this water water training on you know, depicting water. I don't know the right word, but we will be able to continue with water in the underground lab, in the flooded chambers, and then from there we'll be able to move out into the hallways, into the rooms, and so we'll move from the flooded area into the infested zone, and then from the infested zone to the clean air area. So you got those three areas. You got flooded, you've got infested, and you've got clean. So there's three different environments in that dungeon, and we'll just transition from the dirtiest to the cleanest, so that we do our heaviest lifting first and end up with the easiest area in the end, so that we have a lighter and lighter, so it becomes less and less effort for us to continue the product as we go along. And then once we finish the underground lab, we'll go and then build the village. And then once the village is done, we'll come back and we'll build the little vignette maps, like the 30 by 30 little spot maps that you can drop into the manifest zone, or like a 20 by 20 tree map that you can drop into the forest, like little an abandoned warehouse or an abandoned farm and an abandoned barn in the outlying community where the undead have already attacked and the families fled. Like, these are all things that the characters can explore or encounter. So we'll flesh those things out, and then that should finish all of our map assets. And then from there, we can start getting into token production for Carnathi soldiers, necromancers, crystal encrusted skeletons, Mabar bloated zombies. We could technically steal Shambling Mound and Sturge, and there's token asset art that we can use on the DMsGuild for like there's Sturges in the forest. We can just gank Sturge artwork from the DMsGuild and just use those as common known tokens, you know. Or if I get really into it, I can create my own. But like, if there's going to be a Shambling Mound, like having image recognition of what a Shambling Mound generically looks like isn't a bad idea to just do. But I could also take like the general frame, like the pose and like outline of the Shambling Mound, for instance, and instead of using that illustration, use like its silhouette, and then rebuild the Shambling Mound with like crystals and Vulpina, Lotharia, and yellow caps, all the different plant life that's inside the manifest zone. I could create a Shambling Mound out of all of that unique flora that we have illustrations for, so that it's like a Vulpina Lotharia mound. You know, when it grapples you, you are affected by a stinking cloud and potentially lose your actions while it's grappling you. Stuff like that, you know, make it a little bit more like a Shambling Mound isn't a big risk to like 4 8th level characters or 5 7th level characters. It's not a huge threat, but if it makes you puke every time you're within 5 feet of it and is grappling everybody, that actually becomes a pretty significant threat, because you can't use your action economy to do anything about it. It's just going to damage you. So that's a fun thing. Maybe we'll do that. It's actually not a bad idea at all. I might actually do that. Like, there's Shadow Mastiffs. You know, there's artwork in 3E for Shadow Mastiffs on the DMsGuild, but I could also just take the general silhouette of that Shadow Mastiff and then re-illustrate it using the language that we have been developing here for creatures manifesting in Mabar. So it can be like a Mabarite Shadow Mastiff. It'll just look like, you know, a unique type of Shadow Mastiff, for example, or like Barghest or whatever. All these things. I don't know. And then obviously a lot of the visual elements in the book will be these massive maps broken up into the little regions that are appropriate for whatever we're talking about on the page. So those are visual elements that already exist, and there's going to be, you know, page after page after page with little map segments on it talking about, you know, what goes on in that area of the map. So a lot of the visual assets that we need for the adventure we're actually resolving right now, not only for things for the players to actually interact with in the game environment itself as maps, but the breaking up the map into smaller chunks also helps act as illustrations inside, like functioning illustrations. Hold on. Okay, I'm not crazy. I was like, what is that? What are those blips? Yeah, those are real blips. Oh, there they are on the black and white. I found remnants. Blop. There you go. See, you got these little dots. I'm like trying to smudge them out. Like, why won't those smudge out? Sometimes they won't go away because I have grit on my screen. And so I have to physically like wipe it off. And like, was I trying to? Nope. But those are real things inside the game space. So I have to delete those, erase those, just get rid of that stuff. Cool. Get back to work. Was 80? Yeah, about 80%. Like if we're looking at our grid, and that's a 5-foot square, and you drop your character into there, hi, then chances are you're not going to have to be much more zoomed in than that. But I mean, you could obviously zoom in. You know, it's a TTRPG. Like in Roll20, you can zoom in as much as you want. But at some points, it's not practical to do so. But we want to have enough resolution in the artwork that if like a player does zoom in this much, it's like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good looking map. But hopefully I'll have the revisions for the Spelljammer product. I'm hoping they'll have the text revisions resolved hopefully this Saturday. Get those off, get that done, and then hand back for Adam to resolve. Like currently, like the first 20 pages of the document, there's like three changes, like a paragraph worth of text that needs to be changed, but like in the next 10 pages, there's like 3 paragraphs that needed to be changed. So there's probably gonna be like maybe 5 or 6 pages worth of alterations, like clarifications, like adding in sentences of clarifications here and there throughout the document, just to make it to spell out more of the assumption. There's a lot of I'm realizing that document had a lot of assumptions built into it that wouldn't necessarily get picked up like during a proofread. But after the proofread is done and they hand the document back to you, you do a full read through. It's like, ooh, I made an assumption about like processes here. Like if you're like so that means I need to add a paragraph. It's like DMs need to, like at the beginning of the round, you need to roll a D10 and then blah blah blah. Like have processes in place. So like when you scale in from the 500 foot to the 50 foot scale of combat with ships when you're dogfighting, we didn't spell out how many squares away. Like if you're adjacent to each other at the 500 foot scale, at the 50 foot scale, that's 10 squares. So when you zoom in from the 500 foot scale to the 5 foot scale, 50 foot scale, how many squares away do the ships appear on the 50-foot scale map? They're adjacent at the 500-foot scale, so that means they're 10 squares away at the 50-foot scale when you begin. We never spelled that out specifically, but you can only move 10 squares per round. So that means that when you zoom in, you're automatically the word I'm trying to use is we have to set up for you how far away are you actually at when you're adjacent at 500 feet, but now you're looking at a 50-foot scale. How far away are you actually at? And that's where outscaling came in. Like if you appear 10 squares away from each other, say at the 50-foot scale, you can move a 500-foot square. That's 10 squares at the 50-foot scale. That means that if you zoom in, you can surge in and you can immediately try to ram another ship and scuttle them. But we didn't spell that out. It was inferred. And some people won't catch that inference. So for us to have a complete product that's helping DMs and players get how the system works, we have to dictate how far away they are and what you can do at those different scales and stuff. And that was intuitive for us when we built the thing. But that intuition, that's because we're steeped in it. So we had to actually spell that out. Like build text to spell it out so that people have a process, a something they can proceed through, so that the combat works the way that we wanted it to. So like little bits like that are required, but had been missed when I originally built the document, because I didn't realize how much I needed to spell it out. So when the editor gives you your work back to your manuscript back as an edited piece, and it reads with proper language, that's when it feels like a new book. It's like, this is familiar, but all the text is new to me. So now I have to read through it, and as you're reading through it, you mean, oh wait, this isn't being, like, why is that being described, or why are you saying that? And if you can't reference somewhere further up in the document where this current talking point is relevant, that's a hole. That's a gap that you've created, an inferred, an assumed gap that you have to close with text. You have to stitch it shut. So that's where I'm at currently with the Spelljammer Combat Exploration book. I'm gap filling. I'm stitching. I'm patching those wounds, and so far it's pretty light. So hopefully it's only going to be a couple pages worth at most, like maybe 1,000 words that need to be edited, which should be pretty easy for Adam to be able to kick through, and then it'll be actually done, and we can start getting into the page planning. So Bob's your uncle. $20-minute timer. Hey. Let's keep it going. 7:30 now. This is our last 20-minute block. And then we'll be done for the day. But we'll be back tomorrow morning in about 26 hours. 20, 24, 25, 26. Yeah, 25 and a half hours. We'll be back for our Saturday morning stream. We'll do a couple hours. It's 7:30 here in Seattle. I typically start at 9 o'clock on Saturday. And legit, I honestly don't know what we're going to be working on. I've got a backlog of Vox Machina episodes on Netflix. Is it Amazon? Yeah, Amazon, Netflix, Amazon. I think it's Amazon. Wherever Critical Role plays their cartoons, but we've held off on watching the cartoons for a couple weeks now. So we can watch. We're gonna buy cereal, milk and cereal this weekend, like Lucky Charms and Cocoa Puffs, and we're gonna have cereal and watch cartoons Sunday morning. That's the current plan anyway, to watch Sunday morning cartoons. We were doing that when we were watching Infinity Train on HBO. We were doing Sunday morning cartoons. Infinity Train is a freaking cool show. Definitely recommend. And what else were we watching? We watched Avatar: The Last Airbender again as Sunday morning cartoons. My gal often works on Saturdays during in the mornings, so that's why I have my Saturday morning stream. and then we'll often catch brunch together, which is why I end the stream like at 11:30 here, because that's when we can have lunch. But then and then she does more work, and I spend the rest of the afternoon. Generally, I spend the rest of the afternoon in production, but off-stream production. Sometimes, if like she knows that she's like, yeah, I'm going to be AFK for like 4 hours, then I can jump back on stream and do a couple hours with work. But a lot of times I just listen to copyright music and just have time to myself, and just that's like when I do a lot of like development, like deep text work that's boring to watch and requires me saying things over and over in my head to find the words to use. Which is why I don't do a lot of dev streaming online. Like if you check out the Marshall Power stream that I had done, I spent maybe 4 hours, like 3 or 4 sessions of that, just parsing through the language of like how to describe paradigms, like the elemental paradigm, the color magic paradigm, the 8 schools of magic paradigm. Like I sat there and I tried to type out all that stuff, and I had to keep rewriting it over and over again. That's the writing process, and it's a pain in the ass, and it doesn't make for good stream content. Those are some of my lowest lowest engagement videos that I've put out. Marshall Powers has done pretty well for me stream wise. But those 3 episodes where I was just hashing language on how to describe paradigms didn't build a good audience on those. So that's telling me like language hashing, unless I have a huge community that's helping me, like Taryn on Indestructiboy's channel, he hashes out language all the time on his stream. But he also has like 80 people at a time that are throwing out ideas there and entertaining themselves while he's hashing through that language. I don't have enough momentum to be able to for the chat channel here to get into their own arguments and talk about their own stuff while I'm hashing out like mechanical language of like how does this bard feature work, that sort of thing. But I still argue that that's not like really good stream content. It's cool community content. Any chance to be able to bash stuff around and get feedback from the community is good engagement. But as far as like sit back, chill entertainment, I don't think it hits the same bar as like artwork and cartography production like this, because I don't have to actually think about words while I'm doing this. I can free up my vocabulary to ramble, and engage and pontificate about stuff as I do. But I also think the artwork is an interesting additional visual cue. Like I like watching art streams and they talk about stuff, so I think I can get to a place where I can be talking DM stuff and artwork at the same time, which is basically what I do now already, except I have too small of an audience to have a flood of 70 or 90 or 300 people on stream with me throwing super chats to have their questions answered. But maybe in the next 5 years, I can have enough street credit and interest from the crowd to get to that point. Who knows? I think I'm okay as a streamer far more than like the reason I don't have a lot of stock art, regardless of how much art I have, I don't have a lot of it available as stock art because I don't like doing product pages. I don't like packaging my art for sale. I have too many things I want to create for me to look, and it's like, well, I can invest my time in packaging this thing and get $3 or $4 a month forever as a result of it. Like that's good long-term business. That is a good business model for me to evolve into. But it's also a very businessy model, and I don't want to be that guy yet. I would rather get to a point where I have enough Patreon support that I can hire somebody to package that stuff for me. I don't know. We'll see what the world develops into. But if it wasn't obvious to anybody yet, this isn't going to be this won't be finished this session. So we'll continue working on this over the weekend. I don't know what I'm going to stream on Saturday. I might stream more of this map production. I might stream more ship token production. I could stream Spelljammer creature production. Tokens, sorry, Spelljammer tokens, ship tokens, creature tokens. I also have floor plans for fightercraft, and I have an asteroid field that I need to continue coloring and producing. So I've got a slew of different visual elements that I could invest time in on stream tomorrow morning. I honestly don't know what it's going to be. It could be any of those 4 things. So we'll see what the muse wants me to click on, and whatever that is, that's what we'll do. This is looking pretty smooth. There's still some chop over here. But what'll happen? The process that we're going to go through here is once I have all these sinkholes, I'm content with the visual language for the water as we're doing. Once I complete that, then what I'll do is I'll do a final sweep. I'll start over here in the corner and I'll work down this column and confirm that everything that is in this column I'm content with. And then once I do that, I then move to the next column and I will work my way through this one. And if everything that is in that square I'm content with, and we'll just continue moving down. It's like once we get to this, like in this square here, I'm not content with how this water language is here. It's a little rough still. It's like if I had decided I was done with this map, this section of the map already, when I come through and I do this final sweep, I can be like, oh, okay, I can see that in this 5-foot square, I need to make adjustments to like this little bit of water, or I don't like how these crystals are sitting. So I can go through and I can parse through here and make sure that each of these squares is to where I want them, and then that'll be the end of that production. So and again, it's 52 by 58 squares. So that's what, 2,500, 2,600 squares. Yeah, it's 2,600 squares that I'll have to be poking through each one individually just to make sure the map is done. And that's some diligence there, yo. So I might do some of that on stream, maybe not. currently we're kind of just organically floating around this puddle, looking for things that I can fix. So we have to do that square by square sweep to make sure that I didn't miss anything, you know. My nose is so runny today. Maybe I have a cold. But yeah, we're super close to done. I mean, I know that area over there is still a little choppy, but I got inspired to come over here for some reason. So we jumped over to here. Again, proof that we need to do the sweep. And I still need to do. I need to do all the dressing, like the key and the scale and all those little mechanical bits that like explain like that. Like I'll need a little square with a like an equal sign, like. Yeah, like this grave. Like grave equals grave, and then like have a box somewhere, you know, in the upper right hand corner or something. You know, I need a key to explain what all these different visual assets are. Like I haven't built that yet because I don't know what kind of font we're going to use for the book in general. So once I have the font figured out, I can start putting the key on here. But this is the player facing map. It's not marked up yet for the DM. So we'll have the marked up map for the DM. We'll have this as the raw map without any kind of keys or assets on it. But we can have a separate page of keys. Like we can build a key map page, like a map key page. That's just a floating document that just shows all the different like area, like this area, like Act 2, Region 2, Cemetery, Key, and like just like notate like this is like poisonous water, gravestones, gritty soil, broken cobblestone, pillar, steps, wall, you know. Crystals, like spell out what all these different elements are and just have that as a separate page that the DM can reference. silence. Yeah, we have less than 2 minutes left for our stream today, so we're still over here cleaning up this muck. Let's pan out, take a look. But yeah, I'm gonna get rid of that grid. I am really happy with how that looks. It's cool. Oh, very, very happy with all this stuff. So that looks great. Oh, I just locked up too. Cool. So, yeah, I'm really happy with all of this. Now we're just in cleanup mode. I'm gonna kill this for a second and then open it again because it locked on me. But yeah, I am happy with all the water right now. Like I said, right now all we're doing is cleanup on that, which means that the next time we come in to work on this map, we're going to not work on puddles, but we're going to work on the rooftops. So that's I will work on these puddles off screen. I don't need to spend any more time on that. We all get the visual language that I'm working with here. It's all coming along nicely. I need to do a little bit more gradients inside of this. I need to do a little more cleanup, some cleanup. This one's really close though. So this needs gradients, this needs cleaning, and this needs cleaning. So I can do cleaning off screen. I don't need to bother you guys with that anymore. We'll thank you. We'll build these 5 rooftops next time we're here, and that'll be the last parts of the map that we actually need to build. We'll use the same coloring that we have on the pillar tops here, so you have that consistency. Nice. All right, dude, this is such a freaking huge map. Oh my God. I'm certainly learning how intense it is to make a 6 foot, like a 5 foot map, you know? So, what is it? 60 inches is 5 feet, so 48, it's like a 4x5 map. That's huge. Put this on your floor. Like to have the whole thing on your floor and run around in it. Oh my God, that's insane. It's like a twister. What am I doing? I'm loving it. It's awesome. Okay, great. So that's it for today, guys. Ornetico Man, thanks for hanging out with me in the stream. And anybody else that's lurking, God bless you for being here. Drop comments down below. Just say hey. Like, subscribe, check out my other content. I'm at like 129 followers right now, and we're continuing to build momentum, and that's fantastic. And I really appreciate folks taking an interest in this stuff. It's a joy to do it. I have to do it. The muses make me do it, so it's just cool to have you guys along for the ride with me. And yeah, we'll be back in. It's 8 o'clock ish, so we'll be back in 25 hours, and we'll. Whatever it is that we're going to do it. And we're just going to keep doing it until it's all done and I'm dead. So I will see you guys tomorrow. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks a lot.